guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Incompetent and entitled Staff Made My College Experience Hell. So, I found this subreddit today and wanted to post here regarding the horror story that was my 2 years at a crappy college. There was no shortage of issues at this school, and here I'll lay them out for you while also discussing how I was let down and lost confidence in the systems meant to help students. In the 2 years I was at this college, I experienced things that were just ducked up in so many ways. I was doxxed by a student that had beef with their other friends. I don't know the full story of it, but what I was able to piece together was from my own guesses and rumors. Apparently, this group of girls had all known each other and gone to a private school together and ended up at the same college. One of these girls had beef with the others, and over winter breakout freshman year, she leaked out a bunch of people's info. I got creepy texts from someone saying they knew who I was and what town I lived in, and then months later I got messages online from this girl's BF who was targeting and threatening students at our school. All of this was emotionally draining, and I deleted a social media account to stop it, since blocking them did nothing since they kept adding me under new profiles. The rest of the year was quiet and I began to question staying for another year. So that summer I was able to take stock of the situation and I decided to stay for the final year. This year ended up being the most trying experience in my life. I was able to get a no-contact order on the student who doxed me, and that alleviated my anxiety. The first month was fine. Then I had an issue with another student. This student was a non-resident at my dorm and wanted to go inside the building. Even though all students had student IDs, they didn't give access to all the dorms on campus. If you needed to go into a dorm that wasn't yours, you needed someone to let you in. So, I offered to let this dude in, but being someone who likes to mess with people, I asked him for a password. He didn't take kindly to this and he called me crazy and autistic. For context, most people at this school had some form of learning disability, whether it was autism or dyslexia, shyness, or insomnia. It was pretty varied. I was offended by this comment as I have mild Asperger's. Despite this, I'm pretty high functioning, unlike others at the school. This started a years-long harassment campaign against me, and it showed me the worst of people both at the student level and administrative level. I would quickly learn that people being entitled and incompetent can make the lives of others a living hell. At our gym classes we would spend the first few months outdoors for the weather. We were doing frisbee one day, and for the record I'm horrible at catching frisbees, so I wasn't thrilled. The teacher subbing in for a while for the regular teacher was a cooking teacher at the school, and she was an idiot. She comes back into the story later, so remember her. Anyways, this kid that called me crazy and autistic threw a frisbee near me and it missed. He got pissed about it and I complained to the teacher about it, and I asked if I could leave class. She said no, so I just did the bare minimum for the rest of class. A few weeks later we were at a park playing soccer. I was tired of kicking the ball, so I decided to throw the ball around instead of kicking it. Since it was dark, I aimed for open areas between people so I wouldn't hit anyone. Unfortunately, the guy that hates me was nearby and got confrontational with me after I threw the ball. He said I was trying to hit him, and we went back and forth over it until the teacher separated us. I reported this to NRA since I felt like he was really off the rails. Around this time, I began to have administrative issues. All students got a mentor at the beginning of the year for help with general issues and any questions. It's a great resource and it was helpful in my freshman year. My old mentor moved away and I was assigned a new mentor my senior year. My new mentor was the head of this program. I had a few meetings with them where we talked about ourselves to learn things about each other and to get oriented about goals. They seemed like decent people and I was happy with what I got. Now for more context, students have internships, paid jobs depending on how things work out for them. I was able to get a paid job at the school, working 2 days a week. Well, it happened to be that I was scheduled to work during my meeting time. So, I naturally emailed my mentor to ask if it was possible to reschedule our weekly meeting. I got an automated email saying they were out of the office until X date and to have a good day. So, I figured it wasn't a big deal. People are out all the time and I'll hear back to reschedule things. I'll miss one meeting since they'll be out, but no issues. Well, reschedule for a new time and keep meeting. I was so wrong about that. This was the beginning of dealing with incompetency on a level one never thought was possible. Things went downhill from here really quickly. Imagine being on a sled on a tall hill with no way to control it. You know your options are limited to crashing or getting to the bottom of the hill. You don't know what'll happen, but you're in for a ride regardless. I had no contact with my mentor for 5 ducking weeks. Let that sink in. 5 weeks without any help with student issues or check-ins. Absolutely maddening. As this happens, my problems worsen. The student that got mad at me for throwing the soccer ball at him started a massive argument with me one night in a mutual friend's dorm room. He was yelling at me and raised his fist at me and said, "I am gonna duck you up." I was recording a video of me with friends when he did this, and it was clearly on tape. I showed it to staff and they said they'd deal with it. Threatening students with physical violence is unacceptable. Despite reporting this, nothing was done. Incidents continued to occur on a regular basis. We got into a fight before classes and I ended up not going to my class since he was still starting fights with me. As the end of the semester approached, I was happy to know that I would be home for the holidays away from these a-holes where I could get a break from all this crap. I figured if I could keep it together for a few weeks I could avoid any more issues. Boy, was I wrong. One night I went to the cafeteria to get dinner. I got my food and sat down at a table with friends. Then the guy starting the fights comes in. He grabs his food and comes to my table and sits down. I tell my friends that I didn't want him there and that he should leave. He hears this and gets pissy. I grab my phone to call in Raw to fix this and he proceeds to take my phone and hold it up in the air away from me. I grab it back and he leaves. I get up and students that are friends with him tell me to lay off the dude and mind my own business. I began filming this since it looks ugly. More of his friends get involved and they surround me. They yell and raise fists at me and things nearly turned physical. With that attitude someone could have been beaten. Things calm down and a friend of mine walks me out of the building. Naturally this was reported after things calmed down. The next day I fled campus fearing my safety and stayed home a week. During this time, I get an email from my mentor after all this time has passed. They wanted to meet with me to discuss my concerns regarding my safety. I had a meeting with them and it was a dud. Because the winter break was just about there, it was decided that another follow-up meeting would be needed. I was able to voice my concerns about everything that had happened in the previous weeks, but no firm answers were given regarding trying to resolve the issues. Over the break I decided to look into my school's code of conduct to see if there was anything there that would help me. According to the website, this dude broke about 3 to 5 different, serious rules regarding conduct like threatening behavior, harassment and intimidation. Following the instructions on the site, I submitted a complaint for review by the office in charge. This is what I expected to happen. The complaint would be reviewed by someone for code of conduct violations and sanctions would be applied if needed. I expected someone to reach out to me. I waited a month and crickets. Nothing. Radio silence. After winter break, I spoke to my mentor and officially asked for a new mentor. I explained that I was disappointed in how I was treated by them. Remember how I never heard back for 5 weeks about rescheduling? They emailed me back saying they overlooked the email I sent and that they were disappointed I wanted a new mentor but would allow me to change mentors to someone else. I was still waiting for a response regarding my code of conduct complaint at this time. It was now weeks into the semester. I wanted something to be done about my issue. I got fed up and emailed the office myself and was able to set a meeting up to discuss my concerns a week later. The woman I spoke to was extremely concerned with what I had to say and I provided her a multi-paragraph essay I had written regarding my experiences the previous semester. I went into extreme detail about when things happened and who started what and who was there to see it. I was meticulous in documenting everything. I sent her a copy of the document for their records. She said she would bring this to her superiors and would be in touch. I thanked her for taking my concerns seriously. I finally felt like I was able to find someone who would help me. That brought me hope. Maybe things would turn around and people would get punished for their behavior and I would be left alone for the rest of the year. Something could be salvaged. The year wasn't an entire loss. The next day, I'm leaving my job site when I get an email. It's from my previous mentor. They emailed me to chastise me for reporting the behavior to a superior. This was insanity. To be thrown under the bus like that was mind-boggling. How can a university function like this? They wanted to have a meeting with me to discuss my concerns. In that meeting they expressed disappointment in me and explained that everything was dealt with and that there was no need to worry about anything. I was absolutely livid after that meeting. No one had said anything to me about the issues being resolved. Things calmed down for a while. I made new friends and made an effort to get by for the rest of the year with what little enthusiasm I had left. Then another incident happened. A group of students were in a hallway talking. I was in this group. About 10 feet from us was a bathroom. The student that had been troublesome went in to use said bathroom. Another student made the completely innocent decision to knock on the door. The dude came out a few minutes later pissed. He yells about wanting to know who knocked on the door, and sure enough, he blames me even with a group of people saying otherwise. This was reported to NRA. This school had essentially taken all my energy away from me. The teachers were horrible, the students and staff were horrible. Everything just sucked. Then something else happened. I was in a dorm after a class talking to someone. I was done talking to them and walked down the hall to the stairs. I then heard a voice call out asking who's in the hall. It's that kid that was starting fights with me. As soon as he saw me, he ran up the stairs and charged at me down a narrow hall. He got to me and grabbed me by my shirt and held me against a wall. Yes. You read that correctly. He physically grabbed me and held me against a wall. Imagine one of those scenes in a movie where the school bully holds someone against a locker. It was just like that. I reported this to the RA and went to our campus security people to see if they could ban this guy from my dorm. They were useless. They said to talk to the head RA of our dorm, which wasn't an option for me since our head RA knows everyone and is pretty biased. After this incident I got an email from the head RA to me and this other student. There was going to be a meeting to settle this once and for all. At the meeting the student was there along with their mentor. His mentor was the substitute gym, cooking teacher. She absolutely hated me. She had me move to a different cooking class in the dorm where this kid lived for scheduling changes, but I call BS on that. My old class with her was at the same time but in a different dorm. I also have reason to believe that she wasn't looking out for students. Thankfully she left at the end of the year, so that's great. Anyways, the meeting boiled down to a basic 5th grade group counseling session where we voiced our issues with each other and were forced to bury the hatchet under pressure. The vibe was, something's being done about this today and no one leaves until this is hashed out. The next few weeks were fine, I'll admit. He was banned from a dorm for being racist to a Hispanic student. He called her a dirty Mexican and he was nearly punched. So at least that was good. Out of the 3 dorms at Keast, he wouldn't be in that one. Graduation came and went and I've been out of that hellhole for a few months now. I hate being an alumnus of a university that treated me so poorly. It shouldn't be allowed to exist, it's that bad. I still keep in touch with friends that are still there and the same issues from last year have continued. They simply never learn. I was given an opportunity to give feedback to the university and I gave them a scathing review. Despite that, I doubt they took the feedback seriously. Either way, I will never go back there as a student. I learned tough lessons about incompetency and people refusing to do their jobs. I also learned that people can be really nasty and the real world is a different place than what we're told in grade school. The next story is titled Am I the A-hole having a car towed without warning when they parked in my spot even if I'm not using it? Not the a-hole. I live in a condo in a building that's completely full. There are residential parking and visitor parking. On almost every night, the visitor parking is full and so are the street parking. It's not uncommon for my friends to have to park a far distance then walk to my place. When I bought my condo, it came with 2 parking spaces. Since I was single and had only 1 car, the management company offered to buy back 1 space. I thought about it but decided to keep both spaces just in case I get married while still living here. In any case, it can serve as parking for visiting family or friends. I want to be very clear. These parking spaces are part of my condo. They are listed in the mortgage and deed. They are not free, and I turned down a hefty cash offer for one of them. On Saturday, I was having a dinner party with some friends. As usual, some complained they had to park several blocks away and the ones that didn't made fun of them for coming late. Someone said I had an extra parking space, and the smart ones tried to get here early to get that space. Then they tried to figure out who was the smartest person that got the space and we soon realized no one at the party parked in my space. A group of us went to the parking area and sure enough, there was a car in my space. I took a pic and after confirming it didn't belong to anyone at the party, I called security to have it towed. Most everyone at the party cheered, but a few people were not happy I was having the car towed because the car had a handicap plate. This morning those people were really salty and messaged me that it was an a-hole move. I argued it's my space and they didn't have permission while they argued it's a parking space and I just cost someone $200. I'm not sure if the fee, that's just the figure someone threw out during the argument, and made their life harder. I argued the parking space is mine just as my kitchen. Some handicapped people can just come into my house without an invitation and start cooking in my kitchen because it's easier for them. I should add that my spaces are not nearer to the doors or better than other spaces for disabled people. Am I the a-hole? Comment said not the a-hole. You didn't take the money, it's your spot. Others who live in there should also realize that. It sucks for the person with the handicapped plates, but they took a risk that someone would roll over and not complain. You didn't, they lost. Another comment said not the a-hole. You're under no obligation to allow someone else to use your property, and letting it slide is a fine way to have things spiral out of control because people will believe they can take advantage of your desire to avoid conflict. The next story is entitled Gym Newbie. I just read a story that reminded me of this interaction. I'm a bodybuilder, even though nowadays I'm a couch potato, but back in the day, I would lift 5 times a week. I was consistent, and I loved it, still do. The gym I used to go would have a bunch of high schoolers who, for some reason, wanted to pick fights after bench pressing the bar. I met one day. It was my leg day. I remember that for 2 reasons. On leg days, I always had a hoodie on, and I was on the leg press. The reason I bring up the hoodie is because I was pretty big, but you couldn't tell from my hoodie. This is important later. I'm on the leg press. I just did my warm-up set. 4 plates of 45s on each end. Mind you, this is after squatting 400 pounds, so I'm kind of feeling that. A guy talks to me, and I reply back, but nothing serious. I see a guy just grabbing the plates, and I go over to stop him and let him know I'm still using the machine. This is the interaction. Me is me N is entitled Newbie. Me. Hey bro, I'm still on the machine. I say this calmly and politely because it's not the first nor the last time someone accidentally takes someone plates. N. Then get on the machine and use it. I'm confused by his reaction. It was confrontational immediately. Me. I'm in between sets. I'm just talking to a friend really quick. N. So? You don't own the gym. At this point, I take everything out of my pocket. He said everything, yelling and walking towards me. Me. Neither do you. Put my crap back right ducking now. N. You can't hold the machine hostage. Me. I'm in between sets. If you weren't such a dick, I would have let you join me. But since you want to act like a idiot you can duck off. If you are feeling froggy, then leap. He left but would be around me the entire time I was working out. So, to show off, I went as heavy as I could on every machine. A few days later, another guy the first was cool with told me he had the same interaction with the same kid. So, a third friend came up to him and asked him why he kept trying to pick fights with us. He didn't respond, don't know why, but he was afraid for some reason. Didn't see him in the gym afterward. He was with a guy, and I saw the guy a few weeks later, and I apologized for having him involved. What he said made me understand why the kid was so ballsy. He said I took it too far. I said that he came at me the wrong way. If he didn't respond the way he did and escalated the way he did, there wouldn't have been a problem. That guy was surrounded by enablers. Unfortunately, he did this crap in a gym filled with people bigger than both of them. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.